What is up, y'all? My name is Taylor Grant. I'm here with Chris, my claims manager from Bellator Claims, and we're here to talk to you about the Denial of the Day podcast. And today, what do we have for him, Chris?
Well, that's a good one. I thought it'd be good for us to discuss the actual insurance policy that everyone signs and,
Right.
how it renews, things like that, and some important things in that insurance policy that you should definitely be made aware of.
Do you
So
mean the one thing that nobody ever reads, Chris?
that is correct. Everyone just looks at the declarations page, but there's all those 50 or 60 pages behind it. They actually do mean something.
What?
So,
Well, what do they mean?
yeah, exactly. And that's what we're
Right.
here to discuss
Right.
because
So, you guys, if you've seen my Denial of the Day videos that I do, I think we release them Tuesdays and Thursdays. This is the deal, is most people hate their policy. They're scared of their policy. They're just ignorant of the policy. And I'm here to tell you with Chris that that does not help you. If you don't know what's in it, it will hurt you in the future. And our recommendation is to quickly just glance over it. One of the things, if you use AI, maybe upload it, see, right? I can tell you from my experience, I recently uploaded my health insurance policy into GPT and it kicked out a bunch of stuff. I was like, oh, interesting. And so then I started asking a bunch of questions. So there's different ways to do it. It's not always accurate. You need to verify that. So just understand that portion of it. But Chris, what are some of the things that we need to discuss today?
Well, as everyone knows, all we deal with is claims, and so a lot of
Right.
that is really, really important because it's tied to the insurance policy. We can only do so much what the policy actually entails. So
Right.
there's a couple of big ticket items, or I should say, some big bullet points in your insurance policy that can help or just educate you, but make your claim go a
Right.
little bit more smoother and just figure out kind of everything in the very, very beginning. So,
Right.
Taylor, if you want to discuss some of these exclusions that we've been seeing a
For
lot of.
sure. Yeah, 100%. Like what Chris was saying is we can do a lot of amazing things for people that don't do this every single day, but we are absolutely limited, handcuffed by the insurance policy. So if you have a terrible policy, you're probably going to get pretty terrible results. And there's different versions of policies, and when we could sit here and talk about it for hours. But some of the exclusions that Chris is talking about right now, one of the biggest ones is what's called a metal exclusion or a metal waiver or a cosmetic endorsement, basically saying some version of this. Hey, if the property gets damaged, mostly by hail, is what we see, then your policy will only kick in if it's functional, not cosmetic. Well, what's functional? What's cosmetic? Sometimes you have to get down to the nitty gritty. I've been able to prove claims literally with, I wish I had it in front of me, with a microscope and a camera attached to that, showing damage to the metal and the coating on the metal, which then would lead to functional damage versus cosmetic. And it's some of it is actually determined also by, hey, if it's not leaking, then we're not covering it. If it doesn't create a hole in your metal roof, then we're not covering it. What? So there's a
Yeah.
lot of different things that we're seeing. And Chris, like I know one of the things that we are encountering more frequently is roof surfacing provisions. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so what it's called is it's called a roof surface payment schedule, and we're starting to see a lot more of these insurance policies
Yeah.
get renewed with this roof service payment schedule. And it's crazy how a lot of
Right.
insureds don't even know what that is. And that's what's kind of scary because you
For
get the
sure.
renewal, like, okay, this is my deductible, this is what I'm paying, and you just go on with your life. Now, this can come back and bite you in a couple different ways. One, if you have an older roof, and how it kind of works is it breaks it down by your roof age. So if you have an older roof, they're automatically going to apply a certain percentage for depreciation. Now, what that means is, and I'll just give you an example. Let's say you have a 15-year roof and they have it broken down in categories by shingle, tile, and there's going to be different math methods applied towards that for that equation. But let's
Okay.
just say your roof is 15 years old and you've got a shingle roof, and right in that actual schedule, it's kind of like a little, well, it's not a graph, it's basically a table. You'll see that 60% will be applied, which means that if you replace your roof, you'll only get 60% of what it will cost to fully replace that roof. So
Right.
that's a huge one.
And one of the things that I want to bring up is sometimes insureds get angry at us because they're only getting 60%, but that's not a decision that we made. That's a decision that you made as the insured to take on a policy that has this provision that decreases coverage over time. Unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do. And so we are here doing this podcast and other versions of this, videos and blog posts, trying to educate the public because they don't really understand what's in their policy. And I would ask you, as an insured or even a contractor working with the insured, have them speak with their insurance agent every time it renews. And Chris, you were bringing that up a little bit. So do you want to continue on?
Yeah, absolutely. So anytime, I get it the same way too. You get a notification that your insurance company or that your insurance policy is going to renew. And
Right.
a lot of times we just don't look at it, but that's the time where you
Most
need
of
to
the time.
stop, look at it. And it's not going to be one, and it is confusing everyone. We get it. Like, I mean,
Right.
when we started in this industry, insurance policies, reading those, we're like, whoa, now we do it daily routine. So we know what to look for right away.
Exactly.
But whenever you get that notification, I think it's important to call your agent, schedule an appointment, and go through what are the changes that is really going on with my insurance policy. And then maybe what are some things that you're seeing in the industry that we can add or subtract in
Right.
case I have to ever file a claim.
Yeah.
So,
And those are so important. Those meetings with your insurance agent to speak about life changes, right? Like,
mhm.
was there a marriage, a divorce? Did you change homes? Did you buy a new vehicle? What's going on with your kids? Like, everything that you can possibly think about in your life is something that you should discuss with your insurance agent as far as changes go, because that might affect how your policy is written. And you might be able to save money or you might incur another cost. But ultimately, I always say coverage first, policy premium cost second. And
Mhm.
all that means is make sure you have the right coverage for your specific situation and then look at the policy premiums. But most people look at the policy premiums and then hope that the coverage is there. And I can't tell you how many times that has bit our clients in the rear because they're not doing it policy coverage first, then premium second. But this is the thing that I want you guys to understand is cheap insurance is cheap until you have to make a claim. Chris, what does
Exactly.
that mean?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like you pay for what you get. Obviously you're paying those monthly and they might help save on a monthly basis, but we've seen so many situations to where that insurance policy, um, has a lot of bad things in there because it's a little bit
Right,
cheaper, obviously. And then once you file a claim, you realize that you're missing out on all this stuff and you got to come out with a lot more out of your pocket. And that can
right.
be detrimental to your
Yeah.
finances, especially if you're running a business, all those things that you should take in consideration for sure.
Right. So we see people looking to save anywhere from like say $30 to $60 a month
Mhm.
and on residential and maybe it's $100 to $250 a month on commercial and then have to come out of pocket 10, 20, $30,000, even more that I've seen on commercial, right? Because they were trying to save a few dollars and I get it. We want to save money. But I'm telling you this, insurance is different than most any type of product out there because like if a TV breaks, you just return it, you get another TV. If
Mhm.
you have to file a claim, you can't switch insurance companies or you can't switch coverage. You are stuck with what you have in that moment. So just be aware of that. We're not trying to be doom and gloom here, but we want you to
No,
understand that reading your insurance policy makes a big difference. So do that.
absolutely. And, we always love to get involved in the very beginning because we're going to be upfront and straight with you. Looking at your policy and looking at the damages, we can tell you, hey, listen, either it makes sense or it doesn't. Because again, we can only go by that policy. And there's a lot of rise in deductibles that are going on right now as well, percentage based. And the
Right.
last thing you want to do is be upside down with your deductible, meaning that your deductible is basically like, let's say if you have damage, and I'll just throw a wild number out there. Let's say it's going to be, $500,000 to replace everything, but your deductible is $600,000. Well, you're
Right.
upside down in that, and it's all coming out of your pocket.
Right.
So it's almost good too when you're reviewing this with your agent, also to even have a contract to go out there and say, listen, if something were bad to happen, how much is this ballpark going to cost me? If a claim has to be
Right.
filed.
Yeah.
So,
And we're working with an HOA right now that we are waiting for the certified copy of the policy because we're having a discrepancy of what they think the deductible is what we're seeing in the policy, and it's like a $600,000 difference, and that's going to determine if we can get involved and actually help them. That's a
Mm.
huge difference. So different people have different versions of this policy. So we're waiting for the certified copy of the policy since inception to the date of loss. What is in there? What has changed? What can we actually expect as the deductible? And that could make or break this claim. And they might get a few $100,000 or they might get $0. And that's a terrible situation to be in. So I want you guys to understand we're here looking out for you. Bellator Claims, if you have a commercial, industrial, residential property insurance claim that you're not being treated fairly by the insurance company, contact us today. Chris, you get the last word, my brother.
No, it's just great. Like I said, we're here to help. This is what we do for a living. We're fighting for you,
That's right.
against the insurance company. But one last thing I will state, like Taylor stated before, we can only do so much what the policy allows us to do. So,
Right. All right, y'all. You know where we're at, bellatorclaims.com. Contact us if you need help. The sooner you do, the more we have as far as options and what we can do to help you.